Uri Geller claims he knows where the Ark of the Covenant is to be found, where it is hidden. Quote, the golden chest believed to have held the stone tablets on which the Ten Commandments were inscribed. The Ark of the Covenant remains one of the most sought after and mystifying religious artifacts in history, end quote. The Israeli spoonbender is no stranger to making out there claims, as evidenced by this most recent example. The golden chest believed to have held the stone tablets, the pot of manna, and the budding rod of Aaron. The Ark remains one of the most sought after mystifying religious artifacts in history. For years, researchers have attempted to determine where it might be or if it even still exists at all. Its last known location was King Solomon's temple, but then when the Babylonians conquered Jerusalem, the temple was destroyed and the Ark disappeared along with it. It's okay though, because now Uri Geller believes that he has figured out where it is. The Israeli psychic, who is well known for bending metal spoons, wrote on a recent tweet that he knows where the Ark of the Covenant is located and that he intends to go and find it. He says, I know where the Ark of the Covenant is. I will find it, mark my words. And he wrote, it will be an earth-shattering historical tsunami and an archaeological and a theological earthquake. Dousing ancient soap factory I located under my museum gave me the inspiration, he says. He says, yes, my dear friends, the opposition will be huge, but we are talking about an item that is holy, and nothing will come in its way to be freed and shock the world into a biblical historical reality, he says. Given that Uri Geller has yet to provide any specific details of his alleged discovery, though, it remains very difficult to corroborate his claim. Up to now, kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box. All things considered, it's in fact highly unlikely that he has any idea where the Ark is at all. UriGeller.eth tweets, I know where the Ark of the Covenant is. I will find it, mark my words. It will be an earth-shattering historical tsunami and an archaeological and theological earthquake. Dousing ancient soap factory I located under my museum gave me the inspiration, he said. This rose from UriGeller.museum. And is from Unexplained Mysteries, Unbended Reality. Biblical figure mentioned as having seen the Ark. Hezekiah is also known for protecting Jerusalem against the Assyrian Empire, improving the city walls and diverting the waters of Gihon Spring through a tunnel known today as Hezekiah's Tunnel, which channeled the water inside the city walls to the pool of Siloam. Now, this, of course, was the Ark of the Covenant that God instructed Moses to construct at Mount Sinai with the acacia chest carried by the Levites. And this was about 1600 BC. Construction of it, as we can see, and it was a vanguard after it was constructed. There was a pillar of smoke during the day and a pillar of fire by night. And the Ark was carried by Israelites during their 40 years wandering in the desert. Whenever the Israelites camped, the Ark was placed in a separate room in the sacred tent called the tabernacle. When the Israelites, led by Joshua towards the promised land, arrived at the banks of the River Jordan, the Ark was carried in the lead, preceding the people, and was a signal for their advance. And during the crossing, the river grew dry as soon as the feet of the priests carrying the Ark touched its waters, and remained so until priests in the Ark left the river after the people had passed over as well. As memorials, 12 stones were taken from the Jordan and placed where the priests had stood. Now, during the Battle of Jericho, the Ark, carried around the city once a day for 6 days, preceded the armed men and 7 priests sounding 7 trumpets of ram's horns. And on the 7th day, the priests sounding the 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the Ark compassed the city wall 7 times, and with a great shout, Jericho's walls fell flat and the people took the city. After the defeat of Ai, Joshua lamented before the Ark, When Joshua read the law to the people between Mount Gerizim and Mount Ebal, they stood on each side of the ark. And we hear of the ark in Bethel, where it was being carried for the priest Phinehas, the grandson of Aaron. And according to the verse, it was consulted by the people of Israel when they were planning to attack the Benjaminites at the Battle of Gibeon. Later, the ark was kept at Shiloh, other regions, other religious centers, some 10 miles north of Bethel, at the time of the prophet Samuel's apprenticeship. Samuel, as we know, was the prophet at the time of King Saul. Now, the capture by the Philistines, we won't go into that, but a return of the ark to the Israelites, in the days of King David. We know Solomon's temple is when the temple was built to house the ark. Now, in the days of King Hezekiah, we said, in a non-canonical text known as the Treatise of the Vessels, Hezekiah is identified as one of the kings who had the ark and the other treasures of Solomon's temple hidden during the time of crisis. This text lists the following hidden places, which is said were recorded on a bronze tablet. 1, a spring named Kohel or Kahal, with pure water in the valley with a stopped-up gate. 2, a spring named Kotel or wall in Hebrew. Number 3, a spring named Zedekiah. 4, an unidentified cistern. 5, Mount Carmel, and 6 locations in Babylon. To many scholars, Hezekiah is also credited as having written all or some of the book of Kohelet, Ecclesiastes in the Christian tradition, and particularly the famously enigmatic epilogue. Notably, the epilogue appears to refer to the Ark story with references to almond blossoms, Aaron's rod that is, locusts, silver, and gold, and the epilogue then critically refers to a pitcher broken at a fountain and a wheel broken at a cistern. Although scholars disagree on whether the pool of Siloam pure spring waters were used by pilgrims for ritual purification, many scholars agree that a stepped pilgrimage road between the pool and the temple had been built in the 1st century AD, and this roadway has been partially excavated, but the west side of the pool of Siloam remains unexcavated. Now, the Babylonian conquest and aftermath. This was about 600 BC, 587 BC. The Babylonians destroyed Jerusalem and Solomon's temple. There is no record of what became of the ark in the book of Kings and Chronicles. In the ancient Greek version of the biblical 3rd book of Ezra, 1 Ezra suggests that Babylonians took away the vessels of the ark of God, but it does not mention in the inventory at taking away the ark, which was the most, of course, important, significant item. It would have been listed first. It was not listed at all in the inventory that they took with them. And, quote, and they took all the holy vessels of the Lord, both great and small, with the vessels of the ark of God and the king's treasures, and carried them away into Babylon. In rabbinical literature, the final disposition of the ark is disputed. Some rabbis hold that it must have been carried off to Babylon, while others hold that it must have been hidden lest it be carried off into Babylon and never brought back. The late 2nd century rabbinic work known as the Tosefta states the opinions of these rabbis that Josiah, king of Judah, stored away the ark along with a jar of manna and a jar containing the holy anointment oil, the rod of Aaron which budded, and a chest given to Israel by the Philistines. This was said to have been done in order to prevent their being carried off into Babylon, as had already happened to the other vessels. Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Shimon, in the same rabbinic work, state that the ark was in fact taken into Babylon. Rabbi Yehuda, dissenting, says the ark was stored away in its own place, meaning somewhere on the Temple Mount. So you can see that there are various versions as to where the Ark of the Covenant can be. Please leave your comments and thank you for your support. This is from Blended Reality and Wikipedia.